Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really digging into something important happening in sustainable finance over in India.
That's right. We're looking at excerpts from an article about India's brand new ESG debt framework.
Yeah, and it sounds like quite a significant piece of regulation.
It really is. Think of it less as a minor update and more like building the foundational structure for sustainable investing there. It's a big, comprehensive framework from SEBI.
SEBI being the Securities and Exchange Board of India.
Exactly.
And it's kicking in soon, right? June 5th, 2025.
Yep, that's the date.
Okay, so our mission today is to unpack this. What is it? Why does it matter so much? And what could it mean for sustainable finance, maybe even beyond India?
Let's get into it.
So first things first, what's the core of what SEBI has actually introduced here? What's really new?
Well, the way the source material puts it, this is probably SEBI's most ambitious effort yet to standardize and really legitimize India's ESG debt market.
More ambitious than what they had before.
Definitely. The key thing is it goes well beyond the existing rules, which mainly focus just on green bonds.
Okay. So widening the scope, it's not just about environmental projects now.
Precisely. The framework sets out three really distinct categories it covers. First up, you've got social bonds.
Okay.
These are specifically designed, sort of ring-fenced, to fund projects with a direct social impact. Think things like affordable housing, access to clean water, food security.
Sanitation, jobs.
Exactly. Employment generation, education, healthcare. The article lists quite a few. It's about funneling money towards clear, measurable social good.
Got it. Clear social goals. What are the other two?
Second is sustainability bonds. Pretty much what it sounds like. They combine both environmental and social goals.
Double duty?
Kind of, yeah.
Great.
A project funded by one of these needs to show benefits on both fronts, environmental and social.
And the third one, sustainability-linked bonds. These always seem a bit different in how they work.
They are, yeah. With these, the actual financial terms of the bond itself, maybe the interest rate, for example, are tied to whether the issuer, the company, achieves specific sustainability targets.
So it's linked to the company's performance, not just one project.
Right. It's about their overall progress.
Yeah.
And the framework is really strict on disclosure here. Companies have to spell out their key performance indicators, the KPIs and the sustainability performance targets, the SBTs, that the bond's financial terms hinge on.
That's a critical difference. One type is about where the money is spent, the social and sustainability bonds, and the other is about the company hitting its own green or social targets, the sustainability-linked ones.
Exactly. And SEBI making these distinctions so clearly is, well, a really central part of this. They want to stop things getting mislabeled.
Amen.
Meaning, ensuring a social bond actually funds social projects and isn't just like regular company debt with a fancy ESG sticker slacked on.
Right. So for you, the listener, this clarity is meant to help. When you look at these bonds, you should have a much better idea of what the money is actually for or what specific company goals it's tied to.
It's all about pushing for genuine, purpose-driven securities, getting past just the marketing language.
Okay. Now, the article really emphasizes SEBI aiming for global credibility with this. How does the framework try to achieve that? How does it play on the world stage?
Yeah, this is a really strategic part of it. A key piece of SEBI's approach is mandating alignment with internationally recognized standards. They didn't just cook this up in a vacuum.
They're looking outwards. Which global standards are we talking about?
The source mentions several. The International Capital Market Association Principles, ICMA, also the Climate Bond Standard, ASEAN standards, and even methodologies from the European Union.
Wow. Okay. That sounds like a deliberate move to attract international money, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The strategy seems pretty clear. Make India's ESG debt market credible and, frankly, easy for global investors to access.
Easy how?
Well, think about it. Big institutional investors around the world are putting more and more cash into sustainable assets, but they crave standardization. They want rules they recognize.
Right, so they don't have to learn a whole new system for every country.
Exactly. By aligning with frameworks these big investors already know and trust, India makes its market much more appealing, less of a headache for that international capital to flow in.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does SEBI make sure companies actually follow these international standards? It's one thing to say align, another to do it.
And that leads to another really crucial piece.
Yeah.
Mandatory, independent, third-party verification.
Mandatory, so no exceptions.
No exceptions. Under this new framework, issuers must get an external, unbiased party to check their work. verify they're complying with the framework and those international standards they reference.
So it's not just self-reporting. Someone else has to sign off.
Precisely. That external check is vital for building trust. It helps ensure these securities meet the kind of compliance and due diligence hurdles that global institutions require. That's what helps open the door for cross-border investment.
Which, again, loops back to you, the listener. Knowing an independent party has vetted these bonds against global benchmarks, that adds a real layer of confidence, doesn't it? Beyond just what the company claims.
It's arguably one of the strongest features for ensuring market integrity, yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. A big buzzword or maybe a buzz problem in ESG is purpose washing. Companies claiming green or social creds they don't really deserve. How does this framework tackle that specific issue?
It tackles it head-on. The framework is described as having very robust measures against purpose washing, which the article defines, just like you said, falsely claiming ESG credentials without real impact.
So what are these measures? Are there like hard rules about what the money can't be used for?
Oh, absolutely. There's an explicit list of no-go areas. Proceeds from these ESG bonds cannot be used to finance projects involving fossil fuels.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah. Also alcohol, tobacco, gambling, weapons, anything deemed environmentally harmful, or projects that violate human rights standards, whether national or international. They've drawn some very clear lines.
That's quite the exclusion list. What about after the money's raised? How do they ensure it's actually doing good?
Right, because raising the money is just step one. Issuers have ongoing duties. They have to monitor and report whether the projects they funded are genuinely reducing the negative social or environmental impacts they promised. It's about tracking the actual results.
Not just the intention.
Exactly.
And what if they mess up? What if the money goes astray or the project just flops in terms of impact? Are there consequences?
Yes. The framework builds in consequences. If funds get misallocated or if they fail to meet the stated goals, the issuer must immediately tell investors. That transparency is required.
Okay, disclosure. Anything else?
Yes, and this is pretty significant. The source mentions that if a majority of the debenture holders, that's the bond investors, demand it, there's potential for early redemption.
Wait, so the investors could potentially force the company to pay the bond back early if things go wrong?
That seems to be the mechanism. It feels like a pretty powerful tool for investors, giving them leverage if they feel the purpose isn't being met.
That definitely sounds like a strong protection for you, the listener, against being misled, and a big deterrent for companies thinking about cutting corners.
It certainly raises the stakes for issuers regarding accountability.
Transparency just keeps coming up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What are the specifics on disclosure? What do companies have to reveal and when?
It's pretty comprehensive, covering the whole life cycle, before issuance, during issuance, and after. Even before a bond hits the market, there are initial disclosures.
Like what? What do you know up front?
Key things include detailed descriptions of the projects, what they are, the goals. Issuers have to explain how they decided these projects were eligible under the rules. They also need to lay out how they'll track where the money goes
Okay.
and give an idea of the split between funding new stuff versus refinancing older projects.
So a clear blueprint up front. What about later, once the project is supposedly running?
Then you get into post-issuance reporting, usually annually. Companies have to report on how the money's been used, provide actual data on the environmental or social impact metrics, the outcomes, and management has to make statements about any cash that hasn't been allocated yet.
Until it's all deployed.
Right.
And what about those sustainability-linked bonds again, the ones tied to company performance? Specific rules there, too.
Yes, SLBs have their own layer. Issuers need to give detailed info on their overall sustainability strategy, why they pick certain KPIs, how they set the ambition level for their targets, the SBTs, and describe how they're monitoring progress towards hitting those targets.
Wow. That level of detail across all the stages. It really does seem designed to let you, the listener, or any investor actually track what's happening, trying to close those information loopholes.
Definitely. The goal appears to be providing the info needed for informed decisions and allowing for ongoing checks on performance and real-world impact.
Okay, let's zoom out for a second. Where does this whole regulation fit in the bigger picture for India? We're talking economy, climate goals. What's the strategic play here?
Well, it fits right into India's huge commitment to reach net zero by 2070. That's a massive undertaking.
Yeah, I saw the estimates in the source, something like $10 to $19 trillion needed.
Exactly. Trillions. That kind of money can't just come from the government. It's simply too much.
So this framework is about tapping private capital markets.
Precisely. It looks like a coordinated push involving SEBI, the Reserve Bank of India, the central bank, and the Ministry of Finance. It's part of a bigger strategy to, first, deepen India's corporate bond market generally, and second, specifically create reliable ways to finance all the sustainable projects needed for that net zero transition.
So it's not just SEBI acting alone, it's a multi-agency effort.
Absolutely. It builds on some green finance momentum already there, but it provides the structure needed to really scale it up. And the source mentions research showing investors are getting more confident about sustainable debt in India, but they demand transparency and good governance.
Which this framework aims to deliver.
Exactly.
Did India face particular problems developing this market before? Any specific hurdles this framework tackles?
Yeah, the article points out some past barriers. Things like the cost of getting projects verified was seen as high. There wasn't a clear national green taxonomy, a standard list of what officially counts as green or sustainable.
Right, a common dictionary.
Yeah. And the market was maybe too focused on just renewable energy, lacking variety in the types of projects funded. This framework seems to tackle those head-on, especially by mandating verification and aligning with global definitions.
And how does India's approach stack up globally compared to other emerging markets, maybe?
The analysis mentioned in the source suggests India's found a potentially smart balance. It's got tough oversight, mandatory verification, strict exclusions, but it's also designed for market access, using those international standards.
Trying to be both rigorous and attractive.
Seems like it. That focus on third-party checks and global alignment could position India quite well, maybe even make it stand out compared to markets with looser rules, potentially drawing in more of that global ESG money.
So it's way more than just a financial rulebook. It's deeply tied into the national strategy for sustainable growth and climate action.
Fundamentally, yes. It's about building the financial plumbing needed to achieve those enormous national goals.
Let's circle back to implementation then, especially that mandatory third-party verification. How does that actually work on the ground for the different bond types?
Okay, yeah, the verification is the linchpin, really. For the standard social and sustainability bonds, the ones funding specific projects, the verifier's job is to check if the projects chosen actually meet the criteria. Do they fit the definitions in the framework and the international standards?
Okay, eligibility check.
Right. And they also help track that the money is used correctly and check if the impact reports the company puts out are accurate.
And for the sustainability-linked bonds, the SLBs.
There, the focus is a bit different because it's about the company's overall performance. The verifier checks if the KPIs chosen make sense, if the targets, the SPTs, are ambitious enough.
Not just easy wins.
Exactly. And then, down the line, they verify if the company actually hit those targets.
That mandatory step really does seem to inject credibility, doesn't it?
It really should. And it creates a whole ecosystem effect, too, right? It fuels demand for specialized verification firms in India. The rules also allow for voluntary registration of ESG rating providers, which could help standardize ratings overall.
So what's the prediction for market impact? Could this framework really give India's ESG debt market a major boost?
Well, it's landing in a global ESG debt market that's already booming. The source mentioned global volumes hitting $1.1 trillion just in 2024, with a cumulative total over $5.7 trillion.
Huge numbers.
Huge. India's push for clarity and global standards seems perfectly timed to capture a bigger slice of that pie. International investors are hunting for credible, standardized places to put their ESG capital.
Are there specific areas within India where this could make a really visible difference?
Yes. The source specifically calls out the potential for social bonds to help tackle India's big infrastructure challenges. Think about affordable housing, for instance. Government housing programs, like maybe initiatives under names like Astasita mentioned in the outline, could potentially use these social bonds to tap capital markets for funding. That's different from relying only on the government's budget.
So it provides another funding route for essential public projects.
It could, yeah.
That makes it very tangible. We're talking about a framework that might directly help fund building homes, getting clean water to communities, improving healthcare access, real-world stuff.
That's the potential, yes. It provides that structured, verified pathway for market investment to flow into those kinds of concrete social and environmental benefits.
Okay, so wrapping this all together, what's the ultimate takeaway from the source material on this new framework? What's the big picture?
I think the source presents it as a real turning point, a watershed moment for sustainable finance in India. It's establishing that crucial regulatory foundation needed to support the country's massive net zero ambitions.
While also keeping investors happy and the market clean.
Right. Building investor confidence and maintaining market integrity seem like core goals woven throughout.
And it seems to tackle those old problems head on.
It does. By forcing verification, defining terms clearly, setting disclosure rules, listing exclusions, SEBI looks like it's building a deliberately strong base for growth and, importantly, aligning it with how things are done internationally.
Does the source suggest it's a guaranteed success?
Not guaranteed, no.
Yeah.
It acknowledges that success really depends on how well it's implemented, whether companies and investors actually embrace it, and critically, whether SEBI, the RBI, and the Finance Ministry keep working together closely.
So a major step, but execution and collaboration are key.
Absolutely. If they pull it off, it could be a huge contributor to India's sustainable development goals and offer global investors a credible, verified way to participate in one of the world's key emerging economies.
Definitely a space to watch closely then.
A really strategic development, no doubt.
So, as we finish up this deep dive, maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on, thinking about the sheer scale we discussed. That $10 to $19 trillion needed for net zero in India. It's just mind-boggling. How effective can any regulation, even a solid one like this seems to be, realistically be in mobilizing that much capital? And crucially, how can it ensure genuine impact and stop purpose washing when you're talking about transforming an entire massive economy? Maybe think about what role you could play just by understanding these frameworks and paying attention to the reported results in keeping the whole system honest.
That's the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? A lot riding on this.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into India's new ESG debt framework. We hope this gave you a clearer picture of what's happening and why it's such a significant move.
My pleasure. Always interesting to unpack these developments. Until the next deep dive.